Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Ambassador Michaelis. I'd like to first of all, start by thanking the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg Center Diplomacy Hub for offering up this incredible venue for what will be a series of very productive conversations today. To the German Research and Innovation Center, to the German Academic Exchange Service, DWIH and DAD. Thank you so much for organizing this and for inviting us to come together. I could take 30 seconds and say what he's just said and sit down. But I think it would be helpful in the context of transatlantic cooperation just to share a few thoughts about how the United States, and specifically our Department of State, is thinking about emerging technologies and science diplomacy as we look forward to the next generation, as we try to anticipate more than the next election cycle. As my boss reminds me, as Secretary Blinken has said, as diplomats, we don't do politics, we do policy. And regardless of what the outcome of our transition is, it is clear that the importance of these issues, the importance of scientific, technological diplomacy and engagement will remain a critical part of how we conduct our foreign policy in the days, months, and years ahead. Thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Eugene Bae. I work in the Office of the Special Envoy for Critical and Emerging Technologies, and as the Director of Technology Partnerships, our job, our mission is to be thinking about how we can promote and strengthen U.S. technological leadership through partnerships with countries like Germany and the European Union, with countries throughout the Indo-Pacific region, as the ambassador highlighted, is of such growing importance. Partnerships with the Global South, as we think about how technological transformation and the benefits of technology should not be limited to a small community, but available to the entire world. And so those are the kinds of questions and missions that our office have been charged to think about. First of all, I will share with you that I am a trained engineer before turning into a diplomat. I believe unequivocally in the power of science and technology. Fortunately, I believe I'm here in a very friendly audience. I believe that I'm speaking to the choir when I say that we understand that science and technology will continue to drive the future of economic prosperity and national security. And in fact, we have seen over the decades and years that this is increasingly true and will be increasingly more so in the years ahead. As students, scholars, and practitioners of science diplomacy, we all recognize that addressing the greatest challenges that we face in the 21st century requires scientific cooperation, and specifically international cooperation. The challenges of climate change, food insecurity, global health are the kinds of challenges that a single country cannot go alone. We must find ways to work together. But there's also, as the ambassador stated and as others have recognized, there's another side to what technological advances do and how it affects the global order. Let me just quote our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who at the RSA conference in May of this year said, today's revolutions in technology are at the heart of our competition with geopolitical rivals. They pose a real test to our security, but they also represent an engine of historic possibility for our economies, for our democracies, for our people, for our planet. The question that we have to face, the question that we have to answer is how do we harness this power, this era of technological disruption, and channel it into greater stability, greater prosperity, and greater opportunity. And in the United States, to ensure that we are doing this in a manner that will lead to success, we have made historic investments in our technological competitiveness domestically. U.S. investments through the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act are investments that will amount to $3.5 trillion over the next decade. These investments will enable U.S. businesses to innovate, scale, and compete. These investments recognize that our ability to design, develop, and deploy technologies will be at the heart of shaping the tech future. But it's really important, and we all recognize, that the U.S. advantage comes not just from domestic strength. It comes from a shared vision of a vibrant, open, and secure technological future, one that is established through a network of allies and partners who share our same values and aspirations. We collaborate with the international partners on science and technology so that we can meet the defining challenges of our time. Strengthening international cooperation in scientific research, emerging technologies, and entrepreneurship is essential to achieving the shared S&T goals and to ensure that these advancements increase respect for shared democratic values. We're talking about transparency, human rights, intellectual property protections. But I will add that the principle of international partnership and our commitment to these values is not something that is new. In fact, this year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the creation of the State Department's Bureau of Oceans, International Environment, and Scientific Affairs. This bureau that was created through an act of congressional law recognized that the Department of State needed to have a greater emphasis and understanding of how scientific endeavors and scientific diplomacy can shape how we conduct our foreign policy. I served for 2 years in that office prior to joining our Critical Envoy's office, and I have to say, the mission and the work of that bureau is quite remarkable. The bedrock of the kind of scientific cooperation that the State Department has pursued over these 50 years is represented in the science and technology agreements that we have with partners all over the world. The ambassador referred to the agreement that we have with Germany, and currently I believe we are now over 60 science and technology agreements that we have with partners around the world. I had the privilege of witnessing science and technology diplomacy in the field over my career. And I have to say that when I think back to some of those accomplishments and some of the things that we did, they really do define some of the highlights of what I think my Foreign Service career has been. But when I joined the State Department a few years ago, there weren't too many PhDs, engineers, or scientists who chose to pursue careers in diplomacy. As a freshly minted PhD, the State Department really didn't know what to do with me. They didn't know where to send me. They didn't know how to utilize my background or experiences. But through luck and some fortunate circumstances and being in the right place at the right time, I've been able to serve in 3 countries overseas where our science and technology engagement and relationship was instrumental in how we improved our relationship with those countries. My first assignment was in India, and as a fresh nuclear engineer, I was able to work on the US-India Civil Nuclear Agreement, a turning point in how we approached our strategic partnership with India back in the early 2000s. Fast forward a number of years, I find myself in our embassy in Beijing, China, And at that point in time, we used the platform of the strategic and economic dialogue to identify ways that our two countries could truly partner to address global challenges. Climate change, clean energy, energy security, space exploration. There's a lot of things where we saw opportunities to work together to benefit our global interests. And then later I served in South Korea, where we worked on developing the first US-Korea Civil Space Framework Agreement, the first of its kind in Asia. Unfortunately, I haven't had the privilege of serving in Germany yet, but there is still time in my career. But in my current position as the Director of Technology Partnerships, our team's mission is to identify countries and relationships where partnerships make sense for both of us. As the ambassador said, we are looking for win-win opportunities. And in fact, in January of this year, the US and Germany held its first 1.5 track or multi-stakeholder critical and emerging technology dialogue. That convening brought together policy experts, industry representatives, academics to come together and to discuss how can we advance our cooperation in these critical and emerging technologies with a specific emphasis on artificial intelligence. That relationship is strong, that partnership will continue to grow, and we look forward to what additional partnerships and engagements will look like in the years to come. When I reflect on what has transpired over my career in the State Department that has shaped how the United States conducts its science diplomacy, one of the key features that has helped define what we are doing today is what we call the Secretary's Modernization Initiative. When Secretary Blinken came into office 3.5 years ago, he asked the question, how can we transform the department to be ready and mobile to engage appropriately with the necessary resources and talents and infrastructure to address 21st century challenges. One of the things that came from that modernization initiative and investment was an understanding that we need to improve and strengthen the talent of our workforce that understands and is fluent in science and technology issues. The office that I work in, the Office of the Special Envoy, we call ourselves S/Tech, S-Tech, because we are part of the Office of the Secretary and we focus on technology. Our office is truly the beneficiary of that initiative because it brings together diplomats and scientists from all different parts of our US government to come together to work on these challenges. We are only 2 years old. We are small, but we are growing. And our mission is to identify and strengthen the types of partnerships and policies that these critical and emerging technologies will have on how we conduct our foreign policy. We serve as the department's focal point for strategic competition and cooperation with allies and partners. And we lead in the planning in integrated technological diplomatic interventions and engagements. We have many focuses when it comes to technologies themselves, with the current emphasis on AI, quantum, and biotechnology. There seems to be an echo of those technologies today, and it's something that I think we all understand and embrace. The strategic purpose and the overall strategy that we have is to help shape the rules of the road, compete for influence, and build trusted tech ecosystems under this concept of a high-fence, small-yard approach. After 20 years of conducting science diplomacy for the US, I'm really excited about the opportunities that present that are presented. One of the things that I've noticed more so in recent years is a growing number of science and engineering students who are interested in public service. Science and engineering graduates who want to work in foreign policy and international affairs. And that interest and that phenomenon could not be more timely given the need that we have for that type of expertise in the conduct of foreign policy. There is an important narrative, however, that we must not forget as we think about science diplomacy, as we think about disruptive technology, as we think about these win-win relationships. And the narrative that we have to focus on, I believe, is how can we shape these technological advances to benefit the entire world. There is a competing storyline out there that the developed world is hoarding technology for itself, that these measures to safeguard and protect technologies are intended to keep them from the people who need them the most. That could not be farther from the truth. And as we think about how we can help shape the world order and how we can think about the future of science diplomacy, we need to change that narrative. In September in New York at the UN General Assembly, our secretary announced the launch of a new initiative on AI for sustainable development called the Partnership for Global Inclusivity in AI, PGI-AI. We love our acronyms. PGI-AI is a partnership between the Department of State and 8 US tech companies to combine our joint experiences, capacities, networks to provide tools and support so that the benefits of AI can be shared throughout the world, but in particular for the developing world. This effort recognizes that effective and equitable AI solutions must be rooted in an understanding and respect for the diverse cultures, languages, and traditions of the communities that they serve. The 3 C's that this initiative will emphasize: compute, capacity, and context. We are preparing to announce proposal invitations so that we can work with the Global South, so that we can work with partners to demonstrate in real terms how AI can help achieve our sustainable development goals around the world. And we look forward to working with partners like Germany, the EU, our partners in the Indo-Pacific, to leverage our respective capacities, experiences, and resources to be able to build upon this start. But it truly is just a start. These are critical times. The issues of today's conference, all of the esteemed speakers and panelists that are gathered today, I'm very excited to be a part of this discussion. I'm really looking forward to the book that will be published sometime early in 2025. I had the chance to review some of the abstracts before coming to this conference. And I'm really excited about how we are thinking about these challenges and how we're thinking about how we can do this together. So, thank you very much.